Hi, Mark. How's it going?
I'm all right, Cam. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Now we are here. We're recording this. So I get my words out. Probably we are recording this early morning just because of busy schedules going on, and
hmm
we're in the bar, but the barman hasn't arrived, and so the bar isn't actually open. But so as it's early morning, I've got my own drink. Okay.
Okay.
Now the drink that I've made is a mix of oats and fresh berries. Very nice. Tastes very nice. Little bit of Greek yogurt to start the morning off. Wow. Now, I brought my own drink into a bar, Mark.
Mm.
What'd you say about that as a photographer?
Yeah. Well, I mean, shouldn't do that really. Shouldn't do that. But it's our
Well, that's
bar, so it's okay.
that's right. Like somebody looking over your shoulder and taking a photo that you've set
Yeah.
up and taking credit for it.
Yeah. Annoys me, that does.
Anyway, sorry for a bit of a tangent there. Okay,
Yeah.
it's Olympics, and the Olympics is throwing out some amazing photos.
It
However,
is. However, as we keep forgetting, we need to talk about our Patreon page just before we start. I mean,
a great start.
we just discussed this before we started going on there. We need to talk about patrons. Anyway, um, have a look at our Patreon page. It's only £2.50 a month, and you get a shout out on the episodes, which you'll hear at the end of this one. And also you get pre-releases of the episode. So you get early releases from those most of the time. I think we do need to I apologize. We didn't quite do it last week. But generally we do. Generally we're on it all the time. But yeah, so it's only £2.50, so it's really cool. And like I say, you get early releases and shout outs. Right,
Yeah.
Olympics.
Yes, it is Olympic time, and the main thing we wanted to talk about today leads from introducing something about this amazing photo that was taken at the Olympics. And this photo leads very well into what we wanted to actually talk about today. That I think is quite important for all photographers. And but we'll come on to that. But the picture that we're talking to, Mark, was one of a surfer.
Yes, it was just something that we saw, wasn't it? I mean, so it's of Brazilian surfer Gabriel Medina. And the photo was taken by, and I apologize if I get the name wrong because he's a French photographer. Is it Jerome Brouillet? I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah,
Anyway, the picture is wicked. It looks he took it's and it's all about the decisive moment. I mean, there's nothing special here with exposure. It's not any fancy HDR or anything like that. It's just a decisive moment, and that's what wins this really. And yeah, I saw it on BBC Sport on their website, and basically Medina, the surfer, is looks like he's levitating. He's got his hand in the air like that, saying, "I've won," basically, because he obviously knew that he'd won. The surfboard, he's off the board because the wave kicked him off. And the surfboard is attached to him because all the surfers have attached to him by their leg, and then the surfboard's kind of next to him up on its end. And it just looks wicked. It's such a surreal picture. It looks like, and people were thinking that it's been photoshopped or AI'd or something like that. It doesn't look like a real photo, but it is. It is the power of the decisive moment. And we talk about all these fancy editing techniques and all these things. I mean, the photographer himself said it wasn't a difficult photo to take. It was just knowing where the surfer was going to be and where the wave was going to kick the surfer out. So that's about someone who's taken many pictures of surfers before and knows his craft, I guess. Realized where that decisive moment would be, and he took the picture at the right time. And it's yeah, it's a fascinating picture.
yeah, it is. And before anyone says that, well, where are the waves in Paris? It's not in Paris because they're doing the Olympic surfing in Tahiti, which is 16,000 kilometers from Paris. So before
Yes.
anyone says anything, yes, this was an Olympic event, and it was taken not in France, but yeah, it's everything that you said. And he does actually go on to say that the conditions were perfect, the waves are taller than he expected, and that it's and also he was sort of on a boat nearby while he was actually shooting it, and it's been
Mm,
captured with such accuracy that at first some people suspected it was Photoshop or AI. And
yeah.
I think that it leads very, and what you were saying, it is about the decisive moment because the photo itself, exposure wise, it's not difficult. It just looks like a bog standard sort of exposure.
Yeah.
It's just purely that timing that the photographer took, just ready for it. And
Mm.
also the thing is, what I wanted to talk about really was the nailing of the focus.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, because as photographers, um, we do rely on autofocus so much. But is it reducing our skill as a photographer? And for all of you listening out there, do you ever switch to manual focus? Do you ever feel that you need to switch to manual focus? Do you actually pay attention to your autofocus, and how much attention do you pay to it? Do you actually think before that button is pressed, my shot is sharp, I can now press the button all the way?
Well, yeah, I mean, someone was talking to me about the benefits of rear focusing, the rear focusing button, which I'm sort of getting into at the moment. Listen, if you compare the photographs of today compared to the photographs of, I don't know, Cartier-Bresson or someone like that, um, they're sharper. They're
Hmm.
absolutely sharper. I mean, photography has changed so much because of the advent of so many technologies. And yeah, I guess the act of getting something in focus is a lot easier, but the expectations of something being sharp is a lot higher from your
It
clients.
is. Yeah, it is. I
So
think.
when back in the film days or the manual focus days, you weren't expected to get these pin sharp photos.
Hmm.
You just weren't. And what was deemed to be in focus was a lot more passable, I guess, than it is now. So, yes, it's easy to get something in focus, but I'd say the expectations are higher.
Yeah, that's right. Because people are sort of now they just sort of say it, don't they? I'm talking about seeing something in 4K or something, or is it 8K? Is it is it high definition? All of
Yeah,
those phrases that
yeah.
are actually being used. And in actual fact, I'm amazed at how many photographers really don't really concentrate on their focusing. And I know this is through teaching as well. And I've obviously got students and beginners, and I expect them to know that. But certainly with some pros as well, is about how much they're actually concentrating on it. Because do people really do they really know how when an image is pin sharp? Now I know that there's different cameras and different lenses which will make something look pin sharp or sharper, but I'm just talking about the camera that you have and the lens that you have. Okay, any camera and any lens is going to take an image and have it in focus, but do you know that it's actually in focus before you're actually shooting, or are you relying so much on the camera like a lot of people that use eye autofocus? And personally, for me, we'll come on to that while we're talking about this as well. Is I don't use eye autofocus because
Mm.
I find it actually harder. I find it slows me down. Would you believe? And then you've got to turn it off for something else, or you've got eye autofocus on. But how many of us are aware that when we press the button to take the photo, that shutter button, when we press it, does two actions. First of all, when you press it halfway down, it focuses on your image. That's why you get that bleep. If some of you've got the bleep turned on, and then when you press it all the way, the rest of the way, that's when it actually takes the photo. That's when it releases the whole shutter mechanism. If you know, and if you have a mirror, and some people just aren't aware of that. They'll press the button not just because they think that button takes the photo. But that button on your
I don't
camera
know.
does
I
does
don't know
two
about that,
things.
Cam. I think most people know that
No, they don't.
autofocus
No,
in the button.
no, they don't. Well, I'm saying it from a student's point of view. They don't know. And the other thing is the diopter as well. On how many people pick up a camera and adjust the diopter. And there's some people listening to this thinking, what's the diopter? Because you can set your camera to your eyesight.
Well, I take issue with that because yeah, it's not that effective for me. I have to wear my glasses when I'm taking photos.
No, but you still adjust it you've still adjusted your camera for wearing your glasses.
Yes, I do, but
Hmm.
I'd rather I could adjust it and not have to have my glasses on when I'm taking a picture.
It is,
But
yes, yeah. I'm sure
yeah.
it is harder with wearing glasses and doing
Yeah.
that. But there's so many points. There's so many areas to focusing and making sure that your image is pin sharp, and also it's identifying something that's what's the difference between. Some people don't know the difference between what is pin sharp and what is a bit of camera shake either. They're two different
Mhm.
things as well.
Yeah.
I guess here we're just trying to talk about the importance of autofocusing. And on that note, you know, is it are we over relying on the technology rather than our eyes? And if we get a picture and we think, it's not sharp, who are we blaming it on? Are we blaming it on the camera, or are we blaming it on the user?
Oh, I always blame it on me if I haven't got something sharp because at the
Yeah,
end of the
yeah.
day, I'm telling the camera. So, um, look, I mean, what can I say about this? It's part of what the cameras are, I guess. I mean, um, I haven't manually focused anything for a very long time. I used to do it all the time when I first started, when I was using
Mm,
my Pentax ME Super,
mm,
which was a manual film camera. Of course, I had to focus everything out all the time. But, I look back on some of those photos and they're not as pinned as what I'm getting now.
mm.
Um, Technology moves things forward, I guess. I mean, we're always sort of praising the virtues of mirrorless cameras and all that, which does bring things like the eye focus. I mean, blimey, we don't even have to check exposure anymore with mirrorless cameras because you can see it. Um,
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, autofocus has been around since the late 90s, mid to late 90s, I'd say,
Mm,
maybe
yeah.
even earlier than that.
Pretty longer than that.
Yeah. Um, so it's part of it. Now, there are things that I find strange when I'm training people. It's like, especially with portrait photography, you have to always focus on the eye and the closest eye to you. That's what you should be focusing on, and people don't realize that. They just focus on anything. Um, People don't really use the points system that well, so the focus points in the camera. But I don't know. I think generally people. I mean, iPhones they automatically focus naturally anyway. So
Yeah,
um,
they do. But the thing is, I think the point I'm trying to make is how many people are really that aware of it, or I think a lot of people do just. I think a lot of people do just pick up their cameras and they set everything up, whatever. Then when they shoot, they do just go click. They just press it down without thinking, right, have I nailed it? Have I actually nailed it? And how many photographers are doing that? And I think we get that. I see that a lot on. I see it a lot on social media, particularly with photographers who are shooting something outdoors. It could be fashion, it could be
mhm.
a wedding, it could be an event, it could be anything like that. And a lot of them don't even now use the viewfinder in the camera. They're using the back of the screen. They're holding the sort of cameras like
I
that,
have seen that.
you
Yeah.
know. And so they're just in the way I see that, they're just hitting and hoping when it comes to focus with that.
Oh
So
well, yeah. That's an assumption to be fair.
they're
I mean,
so reliant rather than they're so reliant on the camera is going to get it right. And within the X number of shots that they're shooting now, they're going to get one that's going to be in focus. But that's bad photography, don't you think? Or is it? I don't know. Is
no,
it? I
no.
don't
I
know.
don't.
No,
I
it's a
just think that's
newer
the,
way of working.
I just think yeah, it is a new way of working. Look, I got a new car recently, and it's got I've never had cruise control, adaptive cruise control before. And on the motorway, it's brilliant. You just stick it on
Mm.
adaptive cruise control. I mean, you don't need your feet on the pedals because the car brakes when the car in front brakes. And is that diminishing my driving skills? I don't know. Am I relying on the car a lot more than I am on my ability to brake on a motorway? Maybe. But that's technology, I guess. And I guess it's the same with autofocus. You know, and it's not just obviously we always talk about wedding photographers and all this kind, that kind of portrait photography and all that. But there are product photographers and copy photographers that actually use big monitors when they're doing their stuff to make sure that something is pin sharp because
Mm.
it needs to be pin sharp. And then you've got things like focus stacks and all that kind of stuff, which I know a lot of car photographers do. Now, I don't know. I mean, I've not done that kind of photography. I don't know that work. Maybe some people can message us. I don't know if they use manual or autofocus for that. I, I have no idea. But I do know that they have to focus on different parts of the car. That's the focus stack, and then all those images are put together, so the whole thing's in focus. You're not getting any depth of field. Um,
That's right. It's the same with jewelry as well. A lot of jewelry is shot
yeah.
like that as well. But I think, I was looking at one or two articles here, and one of the things in just reading through it here, it says that we must be more intentional about our image making. We don't need to be shooting portraits at 20 frames a second. No photographer needs to be culling through a few hundred photos of subject looking at the same moment. Instead, we
Hmm.
need to shoot more carefully, and that's something that
Hmm.
I agree with. Again, these are the and I've seen photographers do this. I was out in the town here, going back, it's a few weeks ago, and I saw a photographer taking some pictures, and he wasn't using the viewfinder. He was just had it, the camera held in front of him as you would like with a phone,
Mm,
and he had two or three people in front of him, and he was shooting photos, and you could see he was shooting hundreds of photos,
mm,
and obviously he's relying so much on the focusing of the camera to be correct. But then again, he was engaging with his subject as well, which is a good
mm,
thing.
mm.
It might be that you're concentrating too much on focusing and you're not engaging with your subject. So, there's and cameras do work differently than ever before. But I do think people tend to overshoot and not pay enough attention. I think too many people sit in front of a computer, or they're quite happy sitting in front of a laptop doing editing. When they don't need to be going through thousands or hundreds of images when they
Well, I
could have
guess,
shot it in maybe in
yeah.
3 or 4 images.
I mean, a lot of people ship these off to other editors, don't they? I'm constantly getting emails from people who want to edit my work for me. Um, well, yeah, I guess. I mean, I find it difficult to use the back screen to shoot. I find there's a delay that just really annoys me on the R6 anyway. Um, so I always use the viewfinder. Um, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think if we're in a situation where most people take photographs on their phone, if you're thinking about population and planet and who has a camera, most people take pictures on their phone rather than a mirrorless or a DSLR. And they're used to seeing a screen, aren't they?
yeah. And I think one thing I find useful though with the screen, especially the ones that you can flip out, rotate, and put wherever you need to, is it's much easier now to put the camera on the floor and shoot
Yeah.
something from really low level and use a screen. But I still make sure that when I do that, I don't just put it on the floor and then just press a button and hope it's going to focus on something. I'll still make sure that I set it for that little green square that lights up.
Mm,
That I know that I've got, even that even when I'm using the screen, I'm still doing that. Was I would probably get down on the floor, take two shots, whereas I think a lot of photographers would probably be taking maybe 20, 30, 40 of that same shot just to get it right, you know. And you see that a lot. You see the amount that people are actually shooting. It's at such a rate
mm.
that I think, as this guy says, that we must be more intentional about our image making. Because I think it breeds sort of, I think it's just bad practice. I think it breeds bad habits if you're just hoping that the camera's just going to get it for you and shoot, and you just hold the camera in front of you. Yeah, but as I said, it might just be a different way of working now. Cameras allow people to do that. They don't have to use a viewfinder.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that many pros doing what you were suggesting there. I mean, certainly the pros that I work with don't. Um,
You see, I'll tell you where I see it. And you might just say a lot on YouTube, on a lot of the fashion photographers, a lot of the wedding photographers, when they've got a couple in front of them or they've got a model in front of them, it's all about the whole looking cool type of thing, holding the camera at a distance like that, and going, yeah, 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 do this, do that, and everything. And you can hear the
I've
camera
not seen
firing.
any of this, I have to say. I've not.
You,
No,
you must have done,
no, no.
and
The people I've seen do stuff are very intentional in the image making that they do. I mean, the
I,
people I see on YouTube, friend of the
yeah,
show, Tommy Reynolds. I've seen some of his stuff, and he doesn't machine gun it at all.
no, I
Uh,
think that's the word I was looking for. Machine gun it. I think a lot of the photographers that I've seen that are doing that then are the ones that are trying to, where they'll say, the top 10 poses for a fashion model or something, and they're sort
yeah,
of instructional videos as such. That's how
right.
they all seem to be shooting. You see very few of those photographers holding their cameras up to their eye and using that viewfinder to actually shoot.
I understand with the screen, but I don't see that much machine gunning amongst the pros. I've seen newbies machine gun
Mm.
it.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
maybe I'm talking about newbies then.
yeah, maybe. I've not seen many. I mean, all the people I know, I think mainly because a lot of the people that I know shooting, tend to edit their own stuff. And they know if they take like 100 pictures when they only need one, they've got to edit it, and they don't want to spend all that time in front of the computer. So,
Mm.
um, and I guess being our age group as well, we've got families of some description and other interests, and we do want to not be in front of a computer all the time. Um, maybe that's a factor as well. I mean, also we have to understand that we've come from the film days as well, you and me.
Mm.
where you had a roll of 36 or even less if using medium format. So
Yeah.
you have to be selective in what you take pictures of.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
absolutely
That's
have
right.
to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Maybe it comes back to that word of content creators rather than photographers. Maybe there ought to be that bit of that split of that word a little bit more. Are you a photographer or are you a content creator? Or are you being a photographer
I
with
think
these
that's gone.
photos? Or are you being a content creator?
But
There's some jobs.
content creation is what we do. We do create content. It's
Mm,
just a new phrase. I don't think that's anything to do with use of camera. Um, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that. No, I think it's interesting stuff because as I said, my main point was how much if you're a photographer that's out there, is how much do you really concentrate on your focusing? How much do before you press that button, do you really concentrate? Could you be shooting less? Could you be taking 3 pictures instead of 25? Are you one of those photographers that's guilty of just shooting and in the end hitting and hoping? Yes, you
Mm,
might get some great pictures, but how intentional was that, if you know what I mean? Did you really sort of feel that, yeah, I really nailed that? I was
mm.
concentrating on it while I was shooting. But I want to come back to eye autofocus as well, because I can't use eye autofocus, Mark.
Okay, well, before
Um,
we get into that, Cam, before we get into that, shall we have a quick break? Right
okay,
then,
right,
Cam.
Mark.
So, eye focus. What's your beef with eye focus, Cam? Come on.
I, I don't. I don't like it. I don't use it. I've not used it often enough. There's something about it that I don't trust, and I don't trust myself rather, not the camera. Because I find I can do it quicker on my own. I've tried eye autofocus, but I can do it quicker just by doing it the way that I would normally focus.
Okay, I probably suggest you
And
don't know how
also,
to use eye
I know,
focus very well
no,
then.
you're right. It is me, but I just sort of think that and there's a lot of time I don't want to shoot anything that's to do with eyes, and I don't want to keep changing it or whatever and taking it. Oh, damn, I've got it on eye autofocus. I know that I use that center point focus, and I can shoot close up. I can feel the frame. I can do rule of thirds. I can do
Mm,
negative space. I can do all of those things. I can do shoot pictures of people. I can do pictures of products. And also use the same focusing technique each time rather than thinking, oh, I've got it on eye autofocus and I've missed that shot. Have you been in a situation where you've had it on eye autofocus, you wanted to do something else, and you missed the shot because
when I first started using it, yes.
yeah.
However, um, and so there's a couple of things I just want to talk about as well with this. So obviously, what you just said there about eye focus on, and you're talking about the difference between that and maybe the next section, which is the point mode,
Mm,
isn't it?
yeah.
Um, Now that's because we're using the R6 Mark, the R6 Mark One. Now the R6 Mark II just has a simple switch on and off with the eye focus, and you can use the eye focus in all those different focus settings. Now, someone was saying to me actually that a firmware update might make that possible for our camera as well, which I haven't put to the test yet. So it's been a while since I know we keep banging on about doing firmware updates for our cameras, and I haven't done it for a while because I've just been so busy. But um, it's using again, it's just using the right thing for the right time. Um, Essentially, what we've got something that is quite new. So when I'm doing, when we're doing the graduations and doing the studio there, always have it on iFocus. It's so easy. It's so quick. It's it's wicked.
Mm,
However, when I do the stage stuff on it, then I might not always use iFocus. It depends on how many other people are in the background. Because if you've got people in the background, sometimes it focuses on the people in the background rather than the student walking across the stage, which is
yeah.
a pain.
Yeah.
But it's knowing the environment you're in and what tool will work. The bride coming down the aisle, by the way, I tend to use iFocus
Mm,
because I'm focused on the middle, and the camera knows there's someone moving, and it focuses on her, and it works every time brilliantly. Um, However, if I am also doing things like rule of thirds, let's say we're doing a romantic and we're shooting up a wall or something like that,
mm.
then I might put it on the point system. But it depends. It depends on certain functions on it. It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, I know it is. I know it is very good, and I know it's just me. It's just used. I haven't used it, but when I have tried to use it, I've just thought I haven't persevered with it. I think that's the answer. And
Yeah.
I end it because I don't have the time to persevere with it. You know, I don't pick a camera up and just go and shoot now for my own enjoyment or my own practice or something.
Mm,
And maybe I should because I think the only thing I am really feel that I say missing, I've not really used or explored is eye autofocus. If I did, I'd probably say, wow, this is a revelation. This is incredible. But
mm,
every time I have tried to use it, I've thought, oh, I can't be faffing around with this. I keep missing the shot. This is what I didn't want it to focus there. I didn't want it to focus on that person.
mm.
Um, and
I think
but I know,
you're also thinking about it from the what you take photographs of.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think a lot of people, if they're shooting pictures, it's knowing when to use it. But how does it work? Say if you have got a group of people in front of you and you wanted to focus on the person on, say, the right hand, and the camera's
mm.
focusing on somebody in the middle. How does that work?
Well, so say that again. Say that again.
So let's just say you've got a group of people in front of you,
Yeah,
and they're all standing in a line,
yeah.
and you know they're slightly, some are forward, some are back, so they're in a different plane, and your camera's eye forward focus keeps focusing on, say, the person in the middle, on that eye, but I don't want it to focus on that person. I want it to focus on the person that's
Well,
on
you
the
can,
extreme right.
but you've got a toggle.
Right. Yeah, but isn't that a faff? Why can't
No.
you just move your camera, lock your focus on that person's eye, and bring it back?
Well, it depends. Well, you can do that as well if you want. It depends on.
I think
You
that's the
just went,
quickest
"Boop,"
way.
but it's not. It's not. Well, I don't think it is. I think you put your camera up and then you just if it's not focused, pop onto the other one. It's you don't even have to move the camera. If
Yeah,
you
yeah,
if you just move the
yeah.
tool
I
thing
know.
at the end.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know it's me more so than the
I think
camera,
it's
but I
also
still.
what you're used to as well. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
this is the
definitely.
other thing. I mean, obviously we've been talking about people who just machine gun it and all that kind of stuff because they're used to, and using their screen rather than the viewfinder because that's what they're used to with mobile phones. If they've lived, been brought up and lived in a mobile phone world, um, and then then they start using SLRs or mirrorless with viewfinders, they're a lot for the screen because that's what they're used to. And this is the same for yourself. I think you're so used to the focusing point being in the middle or whatever it is. Because in the film days, you had that thing in the middle, didn't you? Which like the two half circles, and that's one of the aids to help you
That's right.
put
Yeah,
something in focus. So and I get that. I get that. It's something that you're used to. You know how something works, and that's what you're more comfortable with. And I guess that's what it is.
I guess. Yeah, as I said, it's guess what it's used to. And again,
Yeah,
remember that when I was using medium format or whether it was large format, and I used that more than I used SLR. I used medium
yeah.
format far more. It was all manual focus. There were none of them had autofocus. Everything was manual focus. And
Mm,
so I guess that's why I've got paranoid over the years about wanting to make sure that something is it sharp or is it not sharp? Because
mm.
there's no two ways about it. You can't just say, well, it's sharpish. It could be sharper. No, if it's not sharp, then it's not good enough. That's always been my
I
take on it.
Yeah, I think there's sharp and there's sharp. I think when I'm shooting in my studio and I've got some, especially if it's a close up, it has to be absolutely pin sharp on the eyes, absolutely
Yeah.
without a hesitation. However, if I'm shooting a wedding and I've got my long lens out and I'm just doing some sort of candid photos, and maybe it's not that pin sharp. It's still sharp, but it's not that pin sharp that I expect in my studio because of lower ISO and all the other things that come into it, then it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
if I'm
Yeah.
taking pictures of people on stage, there is a difference between the sharpness you can get there to the sharpness I can get in my studio. There just
Yes, of
is.
course you would expect that. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You would definitely expect that. But I think it's also. But I think part of that is what I'm saying is, as a photographer, in those situations, how aware are you that the photo that you've got, whether you've shot a photo of somebody on stage or it's a product or somebody portraying in studio, when at the time of shooting, how confident and how much are you concentrating on and how confident are you that I've nailed it, I've got it right at that moment of shooting, even when you're under pressure? Because
Well, I think,
I
I
don't think
th
a lot of people are.
but I think there's a difference. I think you're the thing is, it's going back to that surfer, right? That we were talking about right at the beginning, right? I bet my bottom dollar that's not the sharpest. I would say it's sharp, but it's not like really sharp.
Yeah.
And but that is acceptable because it's an action shot. And actually, decisive moment wins it. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit of movement in it, really. It's not going to be, oh, well, it might be, I don't know, but it's not, it generally won't be printed big. It's something for magazines shot or it's for internet or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Product photography is a bit different. I'm sure there might be some product photographers or some copy photographers that are shouting at us right now saying, actually, no, if we're doing a copy of a piece of work on my 45 million pixel camera, then no, this has to be sharp. It has to be sharp. This is the thing we agonize over because the exposure and everything is probably a little bit easier once you've got everything set up. It's all the same, isn't it? So, and there's no movement in the product. There's no movement in the copy, like the thing that you're copying. And they're probably going, no, it has to be 100% sharp. And we're talking about the pin sharp that I get in my studio. So yeah, I think it really depends on the type of photography that we're doing.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Anyway, to talk about, I think it is part of a huge part of successful photography is just, correct exposure, and sharpness in your images. We should all be aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the decisive moment.
Oh, of course.
Really powerful.
Yeah. And how many times that picture proved it of the surf, and how many times have we sort of said in the past, oh, I just missed the shot. Oh, I just missed it.
Yeah.
Just missed it. We all do it.
The decisive moment.
We've all done it. So anyway, good stuff.
All right, we have a few patrons to shout out, I think.
Yes.
So I'd say a big thank you to Rob Percy, Frank Case, Craig Chuck, Amara Zainab, Nick Payne, Carl Sherville.
Well done, guys.
Let's forget about Carl.
Yeah, guys, thank you very much for listening. Keep on listening, and I'm sure some of you on your summer holidays who might be listening to this by pool or by the beach, which is where I wish I was.
Yeah, damn right.
Because I'm looking out the window and it is raining out there. So good stuff, guys. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
Bye for now, guys. Bye for now.